I'm joined now by WJCT reporter Dan Scanlan, who, among many talents, has reported on traffic, road issues, and automotive news on the First Coast for 3 decades.
Yes.
Hey,
Good
Dan.
morning, man.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us for our monthly segment on all things cars and transportation. Let's get started with some car safety measures. So we're all getting accustomed to, and some might say a little over-reliant on
Yes.
some car safety features, things like emergency braking or object detection systems. But there's some research to suggest that maybe we should not be quite so confident in these systems.
AAA just did some testing on the reverse camera technology and the accident avoidance systems that are there. They're supposed to actually, when you're in reverse, if they detect an object coming from left to right, like you're in a Publix parking lot, or a child or person is there, they're supposed to auto brake. And in most cases, they did, but over-reliance on the camera and the system is the problem. I have a 35-year-old car. I have to use my mirrors. There are no cameras, and I have to reacquaint myself because I do car reviews, and I have all these safety systems. You need to use the mirrors. You need to look at the rearview camera. You need to look at both left and right. Use your neck. Crane around. Look. And hopefully you don't run over, because children being run over in driveways has become a major issue of late by family members. We've covered it here because they're not looking visually looking. They're using the system and hoping it works. Now, it does work. I mean, I park in this parking lot and some of the systems in the cars that I test, and it will stop me cold because it senses the curb. And I mean, it's a hard stop. I've also been on an interstate and had the front braking system stop me, start plowing on those brakes and flashing red lights at me because the guy in front of me slows down just as I'm about to hit the brake. So
They tested 3 different vehicles here, a Hyundai Tucson hybrid. Is that right?
Yeah.
A Lexus RX 350 and a Mazda CX-30. And what did they find in terms of which systems were better than the others in terms of the rear view and the stationary object?
I don't know about which system was best. They just used those as representative of both an expensive and a reasonably priced system. But what they found is the reverse system automatically applied brakes in 65% of test runs and prevented collisions in 2.5%. That's when you're in the parking lot backing up. And again, some cars have front systems as well now that detect cars, especially if you're at a T intersection and can't see left or right. There's now cameras that augment with sensors. Then with the child target, the dummy standing behind the car, the automatic reverse brakes work 75% of test runs and prevented collisions half the time. So those systems work better. But again, eyeballs on the mirror are best.
Half the time doesn't seem like a great record, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And I can remember years ago testing a Volvo with this system and using a cardboard cutout, life size of Captain Kirk. And amazingly, the Volvo never hit Captain Kirk. And that was just because it was handy where I was. But you don't rely on that.
Yeah.
Don't look at your phone. Look around you. Don't go looking for the bag of popcorn that you just bought when you went to the supermarket. Use your eyes.
Let's move on to another automotive headline. Fallout from last year's contentious strike by the United Auto Workers. Now the CEO of Ford is saying that is causing him to, quote, rethink where the company will be building vehicles in the future. What does that portend?
Well, the good news is that these union workers who work long shifts and hard shifts, who have not been getting a lot of money, are getting more money. The bad news is that exponentially takes up the cost of especially the electric vehicles, which are costing a lot in technology and development. And the hint might be, we might start building them in Mexico, where you still get your $7,500 tax credit on an EV. And in fact, I just found out if you have a used EV, you get $4,500. But that's the hint right now, is that we go to a cheaper place that still lets the buyer get the federal EV discount, and we make the cars cheaper. And of course, the biggest concern is the Chinese EVs are starting to show up. They're okay, but they will get better. And now there's more competition for the American car maker.
But this is seeming almost like a little bit of a backlash from the auto industry. And
Yeah,
of
Ford
course,
was not happy. The first plant to strike was their truck plant, and that's their money in the pocket. That's where they get all their money from.
and they have significantly more exposure than a lot of other automotive companies. They have more union members, 57,000 union members of any Detroit automaker.
Yes, which is a traditional home base for unions. That's everybody. Your grandpa was a union member at Ford. Your father was, and you're working now, but you're not making the money. And so I understand that logic. That's logic. And we saw a massive impact. I'm still not getting some press cars right now because they're still ramping up production from that hit of the strikes.
So no firm plans yet, and whether that means moving to Mexico for manufacturing or somewhere else, not clear. But just sort of early hints that might happen.
It just sounds like they'll be talking to Sean Fain, the UAW president, and trying to work on some leniency here to try to find a way to build and stay in America, which the president Biden and his gang really want. Biden's very pro-union when it comes to car makers.
Let's talk about guardrails. So there has been some research into how effective they are against EVs. Explain why they're finding problems with that.
Well, the average electric vehicle can be 4,000 pounds, which is about the same weight as an SUV, up to 9,000 pounds for the Hummer EV. And they have low-mounted batteries. Guardrails are designed to handle about 5,000 pounds and stop you from going over a cliff. The video that was shown on NBC yesterday shows a Rivian going through the guardrail and flying.
Dramatic video. And I know that next weekend is the Amelia Concours. You'll be there, and we'll look forward to an update from you at that time,
Yeah,
Dan Scanlan.
29 years that has been up there. I can't wait.
Dan, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.